Hello, and welcome to the Spire virtual conference. My name is Peter Wright, and I'm going to demonstrate a new product from Spire Assists called BreezeGL. I'm going to start by answering the question, what is BreezeGL? The simplest answer is that BreezeGL is Spire financial statements in Excel. Essentially, you can pull any value or description from any account, range, or group of accounts for any period or company and put it anywhere you like. You can easily format them to your liking, add calculations, combine data from multiple companies, even if those companies have different charts of accounts, different fiscal periods, or have different base currencies. You can build almost anything. Once built, you can refresh with live Spire data with a single click. Let's start by looking at some finished reports that illustrate what you can do with BreezeGL. Next, I will show you how easy it is to create those reports. Here is a simple balance sheet. The data it contains is pulled directly from Spire. Each data cell contains a formula indicating what values to use. We can specify the date we want by changing the period number, and things like the date and the financial values will change. Here's what that report looks like printed. I've set the print area, made it landscape, and it fits nicely on a page. Here is a trial balance. This one's been customized with a balance check at the bottom to indicate if the trial balances or not. Here is a more complicated example, an income statement with columns for each location. As you likely know, Spire can implement location accounting. This is achieved in the general ledger by using a segment for locations. Each account number is represented multiple times, once for each location. The standard Spire report uses a separate row for every account, location, and currency, resulting in multiple rows for each location. This customized income statement shows sales of audio only once. There are columns for each of the locations and also a calculated column as to what percentage of the total that location represents. It's also grouping the currencies so we don't get separate accounts for US and Canadian dollars. Here is another income statement with month-by-month comparison of the actual amounts to budget amounts, with a calculation of the performance to budget. I've used standard Excel conditional formatting using color scales to show values that vary in either direction. Revenue accounts below budget are shown in red. The larger the negative number, the darker the red. For expense accounts, the logic is reversed. Negative numbers are good, and hence a shade of green. This report is very wide. There are 3 columns per month for 12 months. By locking some of the headings and columns, we can make this report much easier to browse. This summarized income statement shows how you can combine data from multiple Spire companies into one report. In addition, it provides a summary by having totals by account group rather than account number. Here are the database names of the 2 companies involved. The formulas simply point to the appropriate company, and it shows the month-to-date for each company, a month-to-date total, a year-to-date for each company, and a year-to-date total. Of course, both companies' data gets refreshed when you change the period. Moving to something a little different, I'd like to give you some ideas about using BreezeGL for something other than a static report. Here's an HST remittance worksheet. In this example, the company remits quarterly and only started business in Q1 of last year. The top section contains live data from Spire GL for the accounts required to determine HST remittance. To make reconciling HST easier, this company uses an HST remitted account. All remittances are posted there. This has the benefit of leaving the original values intact. You can now monitor these values for changes. Perhaps somebody backdated an invoice or a credit. In this example, we're due to remit for Q3. I copy the values from the GL and I'm going to paste them into our previous remittance, but I'm going to choose to paste only the values. Those values will now not change. The amount I'm going to remit is here. Once I agree with that amount, I'll record it as the amount that I remitted. And next quarter when I come in here, I'm expecting to see this value in here. I may want to permanently record the transactions that were included in this remittance. There's a feature in BreezeGL that's available for any report, for any financial value that links directly to Spire. I can highlight the value in any cell, hit Ctrl-Shift-T, give it a name. In this case, this is Q3 21,400. And it reads a list of all of the detailed transactions that make up that total. So I have a permanent record of exactly what this remittance was related to. I will do the same for my input credits. Now there is no question about how the values of that HST remittance were arrived at. There are many ways this type of spreadsheet could be useful, especially at year-end. Documenting and finalizing adjusting entries, depreciating fixed assets. The list is long. BreezeGL is simple to install and uninstall. There is a single setup exe with no extra questions and no shared components. The only requirement is to have Excel installed. You don't even need Spire installed to use BreezeGL. Configuration is simple. What you see here is how BreezeGL ships. It's pre-configured to include access to 2 demo companies that happen to be running on Spire's own cloud hosting. The only information you need to enter is information that you already have available to you. To add your company, either running on your own server or hosted on the cloud, you need only enter the following information. All security and authentication is done by the Spire API. If your Spire user ID does not grant GL access, you cannot use BreezeGL. The BreezeGL demo can be used against any Spire company for a limit of 30 days. When purchased, the standard BreezeGL license supports up to 3 companies. That same license allows you to install BreezeGL on an unlimited number of computers. There really are no barriers to giving BreezeGL a try. It works out of the box on any computer with Excel. For the demo data, 0 configuration is required. So, you may be asking yourself, so how easy is it really? Most reports would start from one of the included templates. You can find these in the templates sheet. Each row in this sheet is a single column in a report. These rows are the report quarterly this year, last year. For each column in the report, there is a heading. the year and period that you want the data to show for, whether you want to see the balance of the account or the net change of the account, or whether perhaps you want the budget or forecast amount rather than the actual balances. You're free to modify these templates or to add your own. The first example report I showed you was the simple balance sheet. This is a report with a single column, and it will start off for last year, period 3. To generate that report, I can click Generate Sheet, choose the company from my list, choose the template I want, which is balance sheet. The format, I can total by just accounts, or I can have just groups, or I can have accounts with group totals. That's the most interesting one, so I'll select that. And since it's a balance sheet, I don't want revenues or expenses. And I'm going to generate the sheet. I'm now free to modify this spreadsheet using all the tools and techniques that I'm already familiar with. I can hide columns. I can rename titles. I can delete any contents I don't want. I want this column, but I don't like this account type here. And I can filter. If I want to only show accounts that have a balance, I can do so. And if I run this report again for another period, and that account does have a balance, it will automatically show. I'm going to remove that. I find it easier to add filters at the end. I can add columns. This column here is currently last year. I'm going to create a this year column. And we can see that these formulas get their values from the column heading. So I'm going to put this year here and the same period 3. Now I'm going to copy all of these formulas over into that column. And I'm going to copy them over. Adding a new column is as simple as that. So as you can see, these reports are easy to modify using skills you already have. There's a new feature in BreezeGL called the Formula Wizard. You can invoke the Formula Wizard with a keyboard shortcut, and it makes it easy to choose what I want. Do I want the balance or the net change, the actual budget or forecast, and do I want it expressed in base currency or foreign currency? And the criteria that I'm going to use. In this first example, the segment I want to use for looking up is in column A, starting at 8. So I'll choose segment 1 and A8, and it goes down the column. The second criteria I want is from column B, and it's segment 2, starting in B8, also going down a column. So I'll add that criteria. I'll generate my formula, copy it to the clipboard, Control V, paste it in, and it's been constructed in a way such that it will format correctly when you drag it down or across. So here's another example. Invoke the wizard. This one we're going to use a group. And it's in column A, and it starts at 18. And it expands down the column to add the criteria. Then it's segment 2. That's in B18. Also down the column. A period's a little different. We want a column for each period. So when we choose period, it begins in F17. And this one's going to expand by row a lot across. So there's our formula. We'll generate it, copy it, paste it, and now it drags over nicely. Third example, we can put any of our criteria either down the page or across the page. Now let's choose change this time. So our first criteria is segment 1. It's in cell A24 to start. And this expands down the column. And segment 2 this time is the one that goes across from F23 and row. Generate the formula, paste it in, and now we can go across and down. Oh, I see I didn't fully expand this one here. That will also, of course, expand in both directions. So there you have it, a new feature in BreezeGL, the Formula Wizard. There's a tab included in every BreezeGL called Examples. This tab is for you to learn how BreezeGL works and how to get the most out of the features that it offers. Cells highlighted in red are the source information for the formulas, and the colors are the formulas themselves. So we've been looking at the get value formula. That does most of the heavy lifting of getting the financial values. But we can also return text examples. So if somebody changes the description of an account, then the report will actually be pulling the current description of the account every time as well. So if I click on a formula and double click, this is where it's getting its information from, these highlighted cells. If I click here, I can see the function arguments and their names, which will be critical for me understanding which elements of the formula to use where. So we have the database, balance or change, the year, the periods, and there's quite a few, lots of which are optional. You can create a report from scratch, simply with a list of accounts. The approach here is to create your first row and get all of the formulas you want in the first row. Then you can simply add accounts below it. So I'm just going to copy these accounts down to here. And I'll change this to and once I've got my formulas, I can autofill the same logic for every account that I've listed. So just to round out the examples, here is a simple balance sheet, and here is a simple income statement. Every type of formula that you might want to use should be represented here in some form. Well, I've used up all my available time, but thank you for watching. Please visit my booth with any questions and check out spireassists.com.